I'm going to play this audio clip for you, and try not to. I mean, it is interesting. I enjoyed listening to this particular conversation between Stefan Molyneux and Owen Benjamin. He's a comedian, and it's not so much. I'm not so much looking for commentary on the subject matter, but more so on the lesson in critical thinking that comes along with this. So I'm going to play about a minute or two of this. I think it's just under 2 minutes of their conversation that kind of stuck out to me that I wanted to share with you guys.
Or any of that, and I really like Christians, and there's some really cool atheists, but I think long term, I just don't know how you just pass on this really good tradition that we have with atheism. I think in a few generations, sometimes it leads just to real horror.
Well, the arrogance of atheists is a big challenge, because there's no question that there are logical problems with the concept of God and of religion. From a purely logical standpoint, it's easy to chip away at that. And again, I say this full confession, I've done it in the past and all that. But what happens is then you get the atheist who's measuring his strength against the weakest aspect of another position. And if you just take the strongest part of your position and measure it against the weakest part of another position, it's easy to get a false sense of security and superiority. Yeah. Like, if you compare your piano playing to my piano playing, well, you're going to sound fantastic because, I'm still working my way through 101, right? But, there are other things I'd be better at. So if you just compare your strength to other people's weaknesses, you do get a kind of arrogance. And for sure, when it comes to like raw logical analysis, you got to give the edge to the atheists. But when it comes to, I don't know, basic morality and the survival of a civilization and the capacity for people to restrain their own desire to get something for nothing. And when it comes to thou shalt not steal, because atheists tend very much towards the left and to big government and the use of force rather than the use of shame and ostracism and guilt and self-restraint, that is a peaceful way of getting people to limit their own behavior. If you compare the strength of Christian self-regulation with the weakness of atheists running towards the state for coercive solutions that just make everything worse in the long run, that's a whole different equation. And that's where my humility as a thinker sort of grew over the last couple of years.
When I heard that, I'm like, that's absolutely true. Just the way people try to frame their arguments is they'll take the weakest position of their opponent and match it up against their strongest position, and it kind of makes them feel like they're somehow superior in their argument, and that's not really the best way to change people's minds. And I think that's what the show is all about, is trying to actually listen to everybody's viewpoint, and try to actually battle bad thinking with better thinking without actually trying to just bludgeon them over the head by attacking their weakest point. Does that make sense? That was just something that I don't know.
Yes and no. The basic understanding of doing a debate is to find the weakest part in your opponent's armor and to press whole hog on it because they can't defend that position. The other part is you can address everything else, but once you find that sore spot, you have to press home that advantage. Otherwise, you will lose. You'll go into this continuous still circle. You'll never get anywhere.
If we're talking about a debate, like a formalized debate, absolutely, that's your strategy, because you have to have that ability to do just what you just said there in order to win. Because in a debate, you actually are trying to win. I think what this was talking about is more like just general conversations with people and trying to, if you're trying to enlighten people and bring them into your way of thinking, you're never going to do it by doing it that way. And the other guy on the debate stage, you're never going to change his mind with that strategy. It's just not going to happen. But
I definitely think that you're right there. Whenever it comes to that weak point of the conversation, it's almost insulting to think that the person you're talking to doesn't already know that flaw. They've, in a better phrase, accepted that and has moved past it and have deeper convictions. And I think what he's getting at is, in order to really grow from each other and to understand another person's perspective, you have to really look at and actually try to challenge their deeper conviction and discuss that and try to have an understanding or at least a conversation on that level instead of hammering down what's already obvious.
Yeah, those are the conversations I've had with people where one or both of us will go, I never thought of it that way. That's interesting. Or, I'll have to go back and do some more research because I don't really know specifically how to discuss that. I mean, the bigger gaps in people's conversations, I'm sure, have been talked to death. I used to be kind of a militant atheist when I was younger, and just almost had this vitriolic just anger toward, not anger, I wouldn't say necessarily anger toward Christian or any kind of. I'm sorry.
Irritation is the word you're looking for.
You know, I mean, it's more. I don't really know the word. I don't think it's irritation. I don't think it's anger. It's just I was more militant about it and trying to like force it and like, okay, what you're saying makes absolutely no sense and this is why, and it's like that doesn't really net a very good environment for conversation and growth to happen on either part.
That you were that militant then because you realized, hey, look, it's just me that thinks like this. I really don't want to be on my own trying to fight against all these people. If I can convert a couple of them, then I have a team. Then I have people to be with. Like when you're young, it's hard to reach out and find other atheist friends. Like, I mean, I come from a family of religious freak shows, and I was the only one that actually had a brain in their head enough to not, fall into that trap. Well, and it was annoying. I found myself militant, trying to get people on my side.
Yeah,
so that I wouldn't.
I'd be rather remiss if I didn't say that. If I tried to say that I had that much thought put into it, because it really wasn't that level of thought. There's a certain level of maturity that's come along with this. That's just been. It's been more of an evolution for me in areas of just trying to figure out better ways to communicate with people rather than, whether I think my arguments are flawless and perfect and I have all the facts. It doesn't matter because people don't listen to that. It's just come from that place. It's like people don't respond to you beating them over the head with facts. I mean, as much as you would like people to respond to facts, it's not going to happen. It's just that's not how we operate as people. We pretty much react emotionally first and then think later. I mean, kind of a survival mechanism, but it is a little bit sad and lacking in terms of trying to, move forward with critical thinking skills.